Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, March the 19th, 2019. Good to have you all here for our first and only show of this week here as we continue our March schedule here. Um, we have a very busy show. As you can see, I'm already fumbling through things here. Apologies for the late start tonight. Feeling a little under the weather. Also, I had a job thing tonight, so but yeah, but I'm here, gonna power through. It's a very special show. I'm gonna have a lot of college basketball for you. It's a tradition. We'll analyze the bracket. We'll discuss it and then make our predictions and kind of go region by region. Have some fun with that. That'll be the bulk of our show tonight. Other than that, we'll briefly do a box office beat. Not a lot to talk about there, so we can kind of move through that pretty quickly. We'll do that towards the back end of the show. Um, we also have a little bit of wrestling tonight. That won't take as long as I thought it would, only because both the big WWE shows were not very good this week, so we won't have to do a lot with those. And then we got a brief baseball story to talk about in terms of the big Mike Trout news from today, of his record-setting deal. We'll talk briefly about that as well. All that will happen later on in the show. We want to start with the bracket and all that stuff because we want to make sure usually if we're going to do a big topic like that, a lot of times I leave it for the end, but I think we should start with that because that is the big topic of the day. So we'll start with that, and then whatever time we have left will dictate how short some of those other segments are, and they will more than likely be very short. Yeah, so that is what we're going to be doing here on the program tonight. And really, folks, over these next few weeks, this is going to be the bulk of the show. We're going to do some college basketball, and then we'll do a couple other little things, and that will be it. That's kind of what we do in March. So yeah, that will be what you got. What you see is what you get for these next few weeks here. All right. So with that being said, let's get the ball rolling here. As always, as always, if you'd like to contribute to the show and have your voice heard, you can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so you can interact with us and all of that cool, fun, interesting stuff. All right, like I said, so we got mostly college basketball on tap, and that's what we're going to start with because, like I said, a lot of times we leave the big stuff for later. But I want to make sure again. Sometimes every once in a while you want to start with the big topic, and that is the big topic. As today is the start of the first four, which I'll give you some updates on those games in just a moment. So technically, the NCAA tournament sort of starts today. This is more like a prologue to the tournament tonight. And there's a good game going on right now between Temple and Belmont. So, usually you get maybe one or two good games out of the first four, which is 50%. You take it. So that's nothing wrong with that. But usually you get like two good games out of the first four. I mean, look, it's fine. Let's be honest, all it is a way to give some of these teams that never will win a game in the tournament a chance to win a game in the tournament. And it's also a way to settle the last four that get in and who deserves to be there and who doesn't. But the tournament really does truly begin on Thursday at noon. So, that's just when it begins. That's when people play hooky from work. That's when they all gather together, and that's when they watch the tournament. So, so really, there's a reason why all the bracket challenges and such will take submissions until noon on Thursday. So, but anyway, that will be the bulk of our show tonight as we go through the bracket. And honestly, folks, it's kind of appropriate that this is the case because this year, you'll know this from our bracket bugle, our bubble watch segments. We didn't have a lot to talk about this year. The bubble was, again, soft. Not a whole lot going on. There wasn't a whole lot of discussion and comparisons. It just wasn't a good year for that. And we're probably going to do a very, very, very short discussion before we get to the picks because there's not really many complaints about who got left out. There's maybe one team that could make sort of an argument, but even they can't make that much of an argument. So we're going to focus more on who's in the field. I mean, there might be a couple criticisms of seeds, but even that, not a whole lot of discussion to be had. So, in the past, we'd have this show. This show would go very long because we'd have a lot to talk about. We don't have a lot on that. So, if we're going to be late, this is the show to be late on. So, this is the year to be late on it. So, but with that being said, enough background and priming here. Let me welcome in my co-host, Mike. Mike, you're in the spotlight.
Hey, here I am.
Hey, you are. Okay, so like I said, we're going to start with the bracket in the NCAA tournament, and then we'll go quickly through some other stuff at the end because again, we don't have a lot to get to. So, yeah, so we'll do that. I'm going to quickly give you all an update on the first four right now. Fairleigh Dickinson won the first game. Actually, a very good game, very high scoring. Prairie View had an early lead. Fairleigh Dickinson came back. Prairie View kept hitting threes. Fueled by their coach's recovery, Fairleigh Dickinson beats Prairie View to advance in this tournament. I'm just trying to get. Oh, here it is, 82-76. So a high-scoring game. Right now, Temple and Belmont playing a great game. It is 50-46. Temple, very much a back-and-forth game. I would say if Belmont loses that game, it's going to change the way a lot of people write out their brackets. Because a lot of people are betting on Belmont being a bracket buster. And if Belmont don't get there, I think it changes the way a lot of people look at the East bracket in some ways. So, by the way, I'm looking at the scores here. Mike, are you aware Phil Martelli got fired today?
Nope, did not know that.
I don't really like that decision. Because here's the thing. Okay, he's been there for 34 years. He's St. Joe's. It's not like St. Joe's has not gotten to the tournament in a few years. I think they got in the tournament even last year, if I remember correctly, or the year before. And he just lost his father. A couple weeks ago, they had a game on a Friday night, and they did a tribute to his father there. Like I think that's in very poor taste. I think that was a very bad decision. But, wow. Anyway, that's just a sad story. But,
end of an era.
It is end of an era. 34 years.
I'm taking a look here. Yep. Yeah. Well, obviously, very, very poor timing.
Yeah. Also, our condolences go out to Chris Mullen. He lost his brother. So that's another sad story there. Wow, that's wow. I hate to say, sorry if I said no. It's just I just see these things and but. Yeah, so Belmont right now down 3 on Tempo. 10 minutes left, the game on True TV. So go ahead and check that game out if you're interested. Tomorrow, 2 more first 4 games. We have NC Central and North Dakota State in the 16 playing game. That'll be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on True TV. And then you have where the heck is it? I think I looked at the second 11 playing game between Arizona State and St. John's that will follow up that game on True TV. So that's the games you got on tap for tomorrow. A couple of things worth noting before we get into the discussion here. Couple players of note, because when you're filling out your bracket, you're going to want to know this. PJ Washington of Kentucky, who is one of their best players, is their point guard, and really the reason why they got so good in the second half of the season. He's in a walking boot right now as a precaution. They say he's going to be good to go, but there's something to keep an eye on here as we enter the tournament for Kentucky. And also, Wade of Kansas State is going to miss the entire tourney again due to a foot injury. So keep that in mind as well, as Kansas State is a trendy upset loss in the early rounds here. So, all right. So that being said, that's enough background here. Keep an eye on those the Temple Belmont score, and we're going to look things. And as I said in the open, there's not a lot to complain about as far as the teams that got in. UNC Greensboro is probably the only team that got left out that can make a legit case that they should have that you could say maybe they should have been in, and that's because of the record, and that's because the whole net rating and all that stuff. But here's the thing. I think, every year, and Mike knows this, when you look at who the committee puts in, there's always like, where's the statement? What's the reason why they made the selections that they did? Especially at the bottom of the bubble, okay? And some years it's been non-conference strength of schedule, and some years it's been the eye test, and some years it's been how you did in your conference. If or clearly that wasn't the case this year, but like there's been different parameters that have been more emphasized year on year. Now everybody thought this year, because they introduced the net rating, that was going to be the criteria, that was the focus. It turned out that wasn't. It was just a tool that apparently, according to the chair, that tool was used to just sort these teams. So if you're a team going forward, you're not going to put a lot of stock in the net rating, because NC State had a net rating, I think, 36, and they didn't get in. And look, a lot of people are going to say, well, NC State has a criticism. Quite honestly, NC State, didn't really have as much of a case as we all thought they did. We all thought they were in, but realistically speaking, they didn't really beat anybody. And that's really what ultimately didn't give it. And that's it. And I think that's the statement that this committee made. It was making the most of your opportunities. Okay, let's say if you're a power conference team, like out of the Big 10 or out of the Big 12, okay? And we saw a lot of Big 12 teams that had awful conference records, but they had good quad one wins. But if you look at their statistics, some of them were like 3-9 against quad one. You went 3-9. That's not a good percentage, okay? Whereas a team like Belmont, and everybody wants to know why Belmont got it. Belmont went 2-2 in quad one games. They made the most of their opportunities, as opposed to some of these teams that had multiple opportunities and only could pull off maybe 1, 2, or 3 wins in those opportunities. And they had maybe double-digit opportunities in quad one. That's I think that's the difference this year, and that's what they emphasized. It was, okay, yeah, you played people, but boy, the percentage of wins to losses there are not good. It almost the amount of losses almost negates the fact you played people. You have to prove that you can consistently beat top tier opponents to be in this field. And clearly, those teams that got left out, like the TCUs, like the Texas, they didn't do that. Yeah, they might have had a few good wins, but they had a lot of losses. So the committee, I think, did a good job with that, differentiating that, and I think that was probably the best way to put teams in the field. Because honestly, I don't think anybody really got left out of this field that should have. We kept saying, we were talking about the brackets. These last couple of weeks, who should get in, and a lot of times Mike would be like, "Well, you said it, Mike. You said like, well, these teams shouldn't get in. You're on the final conference. Well, we had to take 68 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you differentiate those teams that should go versus the teams that didn't? They found a way to do it, and it was probably the most fair way to do it. And now we're going to see it play itself out, like as is always the case. We sometimes we sit here and there's 3 or 4 teams that we feel should have gotten in that didn't. But as soon as the tournament starts, it's all forgotten. It's over and done with. Outside, like I said, not much to complain about in terms of who got in. Seeding, you can make an argument there's maybe a few complaints. Everybody's fixed in on the Michigan State thing. I'd agree with that. Michigan State should have been in Gonzaga's bracket. Michigan should have been in Duke's bracket. That would probably be the biggest criticism. There's a few other minor ones I would quibble with. I think Villanova should have been higher.
Mm-hmm.
I think let's see here. I don't think Gonzaga should have been on the 1 line. I don't know if I believe Michigan State should have been, but it would have been a better situation than Gonzaga. I probably still would have kept maybe Kentucky or Tennessee on the 1 line, but that's just me. I'm trying to see if there's any more seeding complaints. I would probably say Iowa State might be a little overseeded. Kansas probably is a little overseeded for my taste. I think I would have flip-flopped Kansas and Auburn. Let's see. those would probably be my top ones, I would imagine. I mean, there were some overseedings and that, but that's quibbles. But yeah, that's the only really true thoughts I have as far as the selection process goes. Not much to say there. So Mike, you have anything before we move on to looking at the brackets and predicting and stuff? Any thoughts on the selections or seedings or anything like that?
Gonzaga was overrated at 1. Villanova was underrated at 5. Belmont probably shouldn't have been in the first 5 game, but if they're going to shit the bed in the first 4 game, then well, there you go. Maybe they shouldn't have been in the tournament to begin with.
Hmm.
Your bald spot is showing, and that's about
thank
all I got.
thank you for that, Mike. That's great. Um, okay, so all right. Again, there's not much to say about the selection process. There just isn't. All right, so now we focus on the bracket, and I talk about this every year. I have my initial reactions when the bracket comes out, and Mike knows he's here for this. I go through and I make my first predictions, and then I sweep on it, and then I take a few days and I think about it, and usually I make my final decisions. I mean, I'm going to pick a bracket here on the show, and I'll use that for the show's purposes, but I'll make my final decisions, tomorrow night into Thursday morning. That's my whole process, but in fact, you'll probably see that. I mean, if you compare my bracket Sunday compared to where I'd be at now, it'd be radically different, to be honest. So, I have my initial thoughts, and as far as what I think the toughest regions are, that has not changed. I definitely think the West is a tough region. I definitely think that the Midwest is a tough region. I don't think it's an easy road for Virginia, but I think that there's far less pitfalls there in terms of potential Cinderellas than the West and the Midwest. The West and the Midwest has quite a few teams that I think could bust the bracket, and that's why I tend to think those regions are more difficult. The South has more top tier teams that could give Virginia a problem, but that again, not so many potential Cinderellas. Duke's by far got the easiest road, I think. I don't see a single team in that bracket that I think is going to beat Duke when they're healthy. I mean, we already seen Michigan State try and they failed. And I don't think nothing's going to be different there. And I actually kind of see the East bracket kind of blowing up for Duke. So yeah, I think that's just the way I see it right now as far as the difficulty. And a lot of people think it's going to be a very chalky year. I don't think that's the case. I do think, yes, if anything's been shown in college basketball this year, there have been a few teams that have stayed towards the top and been more dominant. Duke, when healthy, is a completely different team. We've seen that over the last week. North Carolina, Virginia, obviously 3 ACC teams. They're probably the 3 best teams right now, but you also got Kentucky and Tennessee. You got Michigan and Michigan State. You have to throw Gonzaga in there whether you like it or not, because they did beat Duke at full strength. They do have potential. I don't believe in them as much as people do, but they do have potential. And I think those would be the teams that you'd be say whether be the most likely to get, as far as on paper, to get to a Final Four in terms of talent. That doesn't mean that other teams can't get there. There are plenty of other teams that have the capability to get there. Villanova, who's done it before. Virginia Tech, who's getting Justin Robinson back. Huge. LSU, if they have their coach, I would say them, but I don't think they're going to have them, so I don't see that. How I think even Syracuse, if they got lucky, could get there. I like Marquette a lot. I think Marquette could with Howard Johnson there. I like Florida State. I think Florida on paper can get to an Elite Eight. I don't know about Final Four. Wofford could be an Elite Eight team if they play their cards right. Let's see who else is there. Those would be probably the teams. Those are the only teams I can really see potentially getting to a Final Four and winning a national championship at this point. Those teams I mentioned, and again, the top teams that you'd expect that have been dominant, and then some of these other teams that could surprise you. And then there's Cinderellas, like you said. You're going to look at this bracket. There's a number of teams in this bracket that could bust things up. And we'll talk about them as we go along here. But yeah. So all right. So we're going to start making selections. But Mike, any further thoughts before we start doing that?
No.
Okay. Good. All right. So we go into the bracket now. We're going to start in the East. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down, do my whole version of the East, and then I'll throw to Mike. He'll do his, and then we'll go West, South, and and so on and so forth. Again, we are playing these first 4 games out. In some cases, this might matter, especially in the 11 games. It might matter in terms of who you pick. So I want you to all keep in mind that, my pick might change based on the fact of who wins. Obviously, if I pick Belmont to beat Maryland, let's say, and Belmont doesn't win tonight, then that changes my pick. Belmont's winning right now 63-55 with 5:41 left, but Belmont should not win that game, then obviously my pick will change. So all right, so let me go through this right now. So just keep that in mind. So my first 4 picks, I'm just going to say who they are so that you know where I'm looking at here. Obviously, Fairleigh Dickinson already won. I would have picked them anyway. I got Belmont to beat Temple tonight. I am picking NC Central to win the 16 game tomorrow, and Arizona State to win the 11. All right, so just keep that in mind for predictions here. All right, so East bracket. I'm picking Duke over NC Central, who I'm picking to win that 16 game. I am going with UCF over VCU. I am going to go with Liberty over Mississippi State. Virginia Tech over St. Louis. I am picking Belmont to win tonight, so I'm picking Belmont to beat Maryland. I'm going to go with Yale over LSU. One of my upset picks. That's something I've kind of come up to over the last 2 days. I like Louisville over Minnesota. And I like Michigan State over Bradley. All right, so that leaves me with Duke versus UCF. I'm picking Duke. Although the fact that that 7-4 guy scares me against Duke, but I'm going to go with Virginia Tech over Liberty. Belmont over Yale. That should be a barn burner of a game if we get it. A lot of shooting in that game. And I'm going to go with Michigan State over Louisville. I'm going to go with Duke over Virginia Tech. And I'm going to go with Michigan State over Belmont. And I'm going to take Duke to beat Michigan State again and get out of the East to the Final 4. So that's my East bracket. Mike?
Okay, let me take a quick look here because I'm looking at other things at the moment.
Sure.
I'm going to run through this quickly. I'm not as motivated. This bracket. So Duke all the way to the finals. I'm done. Man, that was an easy region to pick. I don't know about you.
Really?
Oh, fine. I'll go into more detail. God, you're an
I didn't.
asshole.
Wow.
All right, Duke over Baba Ganoush's. UCF over VCU, Liberty over Mississippi State. I'll feel like a real asshole if Mississippi State wins, but I don't care. Virginia Tech over St. Louis. I just don't think St. Louis has enough. But hey, a 13 can beat a 4. Maryland, Big Ten. Yikes. Whoever wins this game is going to beat Maryland. LSU over Yale. God, Louisville, if they show up, is going to beat Minnesota. And I don't want to pick Michigan State. So the Larry Nassers over Bradley. Back up top. Duke over UCF. Virginia Tech over Liberty. LSU over the Belmont Temple winner. And the Larry Nassers over Louisville. Although Louisville can beat Michigan State, it depends if they show up. If Louisville's motivated, if they play two halves of basketball, Louisville's going to beat Michigan State. But I'm guessing they're a nata. So the Larry Nassers are going to beat Louisville. Moving on. So that brings Duke against, I'm guessing, Virginia Tech. They're going to win that game. And I have LSU over the Larry Nassers. So I'm going to take LSU over Michigan State. So that leaves me with an Eastern Conference final of Duke and LSU. Despite LSU not having their coach because he had cheated, I'm going to take Duke. So, as I said earlier, Duke Final Four.
Now you probably
I just said it in I just wanted to say that in less words.
I mean, you'll notice that when I did mine, I didn't do the usual analysis, and the reason why is because I think it's a pretty simplistic bracket. Duke's going to come out of it. You already know. I mean, look, there's only a few things to mention in this bracket. Belmont's a potential upset pick because they shoot the ball very well. So does Yale. Louisville's more about their defense. Michigan State is kind of it's kind of up and down in terms of what they play. They got the athleticism, but Virginia Tech and Justin Robinson back. They can shoot the ball. They play really good defense. Liberty, again, offensively, very, very skilled. UCF has the center, and they can get after on defense. So that's what you need to know about all those teams. But it doesn't matter. None of them have the capability, I think, to beat Duke. So, all right, let's jump to the West. I got Gonzaga beating Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm going to go with Syracuse over Baylor. The zone gives Big 12 teams fits. It just does. And Baylor doesn't have the athleticism they used to have. So, tough game for me to pick was Marquette Murray State. I end up going with Murray State because of Ja. He's a great player. I don't know if Marquette's going to be able to match up with him. They got Marquette, but I still don't think they'll be able to. Scoring wise, they'll be able to match up, but defensively, I don't know what they're going to do there. So I like Murray State over Marquette. Florida State over Vermont, I think it's an easy pick. Buffalo, I like no matter who wins, Arizona State or St. John's. Defensively and really in terms of scoring the ball, they're really, really good. Texas Tech, I like a lot. I like them to beat Northern Kentucky. Scoring wise, they lack a lot, but defensively, I think they'll be okay. Florida, Nevada, I was so high in Nevada early, but they've kind of fallen off in my eyes. I think I said Florida should be a Final Four team, and they just never materialized. But I think I saw a lot from them last week, so I like Florida. Michigan over Montana is an easy pick for me. I like Michigan over Florida because, again, Florida is very inconsistent. And I think even though Michigan can sometimes struggle to score too, they have more offensive firepower and more reliable offensive firepower. I like Buffalo over Texas Tech because, again, I think they have more scoring and they can definitely match up with the defense. Florida State over Murray State, that Florida State's explosive. They have good athleticism on both sides of the ball. I like Florida State. And then this is a tough one for me to pick because, I do think, even though I've been down on Gonzaga this year, I do think they are a fairly decent, good team that deserves to be in the top 10 because of their talent. Having said that, zones give them fits. Syracuse has a very good track record against Gonzaga. As long as they stay out of foul trouble, I like Syracuse to beat Gonzaga. Syracuse, Florida State. Florida State has too much athleticism for Syracuse. They got guys that can shoot the ball well. Too many guys that can beat you. I like Florida State over Syracuse. I like Michigan over Buffalo because they can definitely match defensive intensity, and they got the shooters to match. So I think it's a matchup prime for Buffalo. I like Michigan, and I like Florida State over Michigan because I think they got too many guys in the paint that can give Michigan fits. I like Florida State to come out of the West. Mike.
All right, so we're going right down there then. Okay. All right, we're going not there. We're going to the West. Let's see. Gonzaga, the only team who beat Duke at full strength all year. Yeah, but they couldn't fucking beat North Carolina now, could they? Yeah, Gonzaga. One good win, and they're on the one seed. Gonzaga. They don't fucking deserve to be there. North Carolina doesn't deserve to be there either. Yeah, but they beat Duke twice and everybody else in their fucking division too. Gonzaga. Gonzaga lost to St. Mary's by 17. If Gonzaga did handle their business, we wouldn't have to discuss St. Mary's. I digress. I'm better. But they're going to beat Fairleigh Dickinson because why the hell not? Syracuse is going to beat Baylor. Baylor shouldn't be in this tournament, but here they are. We had to take 36 other teams. So Baylor's in. Marquette's going to beat. You know what? Marquette's better than Murray State, but Ja Morant.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a popular 5-12. Fuck it. I'll take Murray State. Why not? Florida State's going to go to Vermont. Buffalo's going to beat whoever wins that game. Texas Tech over Northern Kentucky. Nevada over Florida. Michigan over Montana. Going up. Syracuse over Gonzaga because Syracuse don't always get Gonzaga fits. Even though Gonzaga's got very talented folks. Syracuse, and you know what? Here's the thing: if Syracuse plays 2 halves of basketball against Gonzaga's going to lose regardless. So if Syracuse plays 2 halves of basketball, Gonzaga's going to lose. Florida State's going to beat Murray State. Buffalo's going to beat Texas Tech. Michigan's going to beat Nevada. Florida State's going to beat Syracuse more than likely. Look, if Syracuse plays 2 halves of basketball, they can beat Florida State. If they don't, they're not. So I'm going to assume they're not at that point. I'm going to say Michigan's going to beat Buffalo, although Buffalo can certainly beat Michigan. And then I have Florida State or Michigan. Florida State's going to the Final Four.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to jump to the South. And boy, you know, it's going to be interesting to see this. I'm going to look at the stat as soon as all the brackets are submitted on Thursday. I want to know how many people are going to pick Virginia to lose to a 16 this year. Because, look, I get it. They did it last year, and I get it that Virginia is much the same team. They are a little bit better in terms of offense, a little bit, very slightly. But they're still the same team. And look, the thing that people have to remember about last year, they also didn't have DeAndre Hunter. They lost at 15 to 16 point a game scores. That's a big deal. They're not going to lose again to a 16 this year. I'm not saying they're going to win. You know, I'm not saying they're going to go to the Final Four. I'm just saying that they're not going to lose to a 16. Virginia's going to beat Gardner-Webb. Mississippi, Oklahoma. To me, that's a crapshoot. I'm going with Mississippi. Honestly, I don't have a reason why. I just picked it because I just don't know which way to go with that game. Oregon over Wisconsin for me. They're playing their best basketball right now. Offensively, they're a very tall order as they always are. Wisconsin has too many scoring droughts, and I think that, you know, even if Oregon doesn't have much of a defense, I think Oregon can outscore them. This is an upset that I've kind of fallen in love with. UC Irvine over Kansas State. Kansas State has really, really struggled against really physical basketball teams and teams that can shoot the ball well. UC Irvine can do both. I'm going with UC Irvine over Kansas State. Villanova or St. Mary's, one of the easier picks for me, quite frankly, because Villanova can score and St. Mary's can't. Purdue over Old Dominion, that's a pretty easy pick for me too. Purdue's a better team people give them credit for. Cincinnati over Iowa, that's a tough one to call because I think offensively, Iowa presents a lot of challenges, but I think Cincinnati has enough playmakers to get through that game. I think that'll be a close one, though. Tennessee over Colgate, mismatch there, and I think Tennessee beats Cincinnati relatively easily. They're very skilled at the guard position, which does very well in this tournament. Same thing with Villanova. As long as Villanova shoots the ball, they should have no problem getting past Purdue. I like UC Irvine over Oregon because, again, the physicality, their defense, the way they can shoot the ball, they can more than answer Oregon. And I like Virginia over Mississippi because they're just flat out better. I don't say that about Virginia that often, but it's the truth. I like Virginia to beat UC Irvine probably pretty easily because I think defensively they're going to handle them pretty well. And then I like Tennessee to beat Villanova. I think that's a scary game for Tennessee because I think they match up well, Villanova. But I think Tennessee's just got a little bit more talent than Villanova this year. That won't be the case next year, but this year I think they do. So talent wins out in that game. I think Tennessee goes to face Virginia, and Tennessee I think is the better team, especially at the guard spot. I think they have more offense than Virginia does. I think they play better, more complete games than Virginia does, and I think they're going to be okay dealing with Virginia's tempo and skilled players. So I like Tennessee to beat Virginia. Mike.
All right, so we're going to this division now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tennessee over Gardner Webb. Oklahoma over Ole Miss. Honestly, I don't care who wins that game. I'm going to say Oregon over Wisconsin. Oregon should not be in this game. If Washington handled their business, they wouldn't be. Wisconsin still can't score, although they've been better than recently, but whatever. Kansas State over UC Irvine. Nova over St. Mary's, who really shouldn't be in this game. Who really shouldn't be in this tournament. This upsets me.
You shouldn't.
Purdue over Old Dominion, although Old Dominion give them a bit of a game. Cincinnati should beat Iowa, but that could be a 7-10. Heads up, that's a 7-10 you could watch. Tennessee over Colgate, easy. All right, so Virginia's going to beat the winner of that 8-9 game. I'm going to take Kansas State over for the winner of that 5-10. Nova's going to beat Purdue or Old Dominion. Tennessee is going to go over the winner of that 7-10. Virginia's probably going to beat Kansas State. Villanova can beat Tennessee. The winner of that Villanova-Tennessee game is going to beat Virginia. Because they present... Nice ball step out again. Because Villanova and Tennessee present Virginia with a lot of matchup problems. They can speed the game up. They can kind of frustrate Virginia's half-court process. They're comfortable playing fast. They're comfortable playing slow. They're consistent offensively. I agree with you. Tennessee's probably the best team in this thing right now. I think Tennessee's going to the Final Four, but I think the winner of the Nova Tennessee game is going to the Final Four.
Yeah, that's the matchup game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree with you. Okay. All right, so the final bracket we got is the Midwest. North Carolina over Iowa. Although I'm going to say this, Mike knows this. Every year, there is a 16-1 game. And last year, we knew what game that was because they ended up finishing it off. That, for a while, stays close. And then you wonder, and then it ends up being a blowout. I think UNC Iona is going to be that game this year. They both play the similar styles. They both can score. They both go up and down. I think that one would be the scare game. And North Carolina's going to win. I've gone back and forth on this Utah State-Washington game. I like both teams. I'm leaning in the direction of Utah State, so that's why I picked, because I don't like the way Washington went into this tournament. I don't like the way they've been playing. Sometimes that's an indicator that they're in a rut. So I'm going with Utah State there. This is another upset that I've kind of fallen in love with over the last couple of days as I've looked at things and kind of looked at some film and stuff. New Mexico State over Auburn. I like the way Auburn played going into this tournament. Obviously, they got to the SEC final. They obviously won the SEC final. But Auburn before that was a team that had a lot of issues. They were very inconsistent. They struggled to score at times. Meanwhile, New Mexico State can rebound the ball well. They can score. They're more of a complete team. I'm going to pick New Mexico State over Auburn. This is one, maybe by Thursday I'll change my mind on this. I want to pick Northeastern over Kansas because Northeastern is not a bad team. And Kansas, to me, with all the problems that they've had, they mediocre doesn't even begin to describe Kansas right now. I could easily see Kansas losing to Northeastern. Easily. I'm picking them reluctantly in this bracket, but by Thursday I'm probably going to be off that. But I'm picking Kansas here. I've gone back and forth on this game as well. Again, that's why I think it's a tough bracket. Iowa State has let me down numerous times before, but I'm going to pick them against Ohio State because I think Ohio State has had a lot of problems with scoring, and I think Caleb Weston's going to have a lot of problems in terms of matchups in this game, and that's the key. If Caleb Weston has problems, then Ohio State's not going to do well. So I'm picking Iowa State against Ohio State. I like Houston over Georgia State. I just think they're the flat-out better team. I think they have no issue there. Wofford, Seton Hall is one of the more interesting games of the first round. Seton Hall has really come into their own. They're very balanced in terms of scoring, in terms of defense. Wofford can shoot the ball well, can play good, solid defense. I'm picking Wofford because I've been high on them all year. I don't want to jump off them. but Seton Hall is a scary team right now. Kentucky, a lot of people like Abilene Christian to kind of pull something here. I don't know if I believe that. I think I've been very high on Kentucky this year. A little bit worried about PJ Washington and the whole boot being in the boot thing. But if he's healthy, Kentucky should have no issue here. I think they advance. Kentucky Wofford scares me. I think Wofford can definitely beat Kentucky, but I think the talent will win out there. I like Kentucky to beat Wofford. I like Houston over Iowa State. Again, more complete team, better team, I think. I'm going with New Mexico State over Kansas because I just don't see Kansas getting out of the first weekend. I just think they struggle. They've always struggled with being either a first or second half team, only putting together one half of basketball. But this year, they just don't have the talent to overcome that. I like UNC over Utah State, and what should be a blowout there. I like UNC over New Mexico State. It's a total mismatch there. I like Kentucky over Houston. Again, I feel like a total mismatch. And then UNC Kentucky, a battle of the Blue Bloods. I like UNC in a close one over Kentucky, just because I just think they're maybe a slightly better in terms of their overall talent than Kentucky. So UNC I have coming out of the Midwest. Mike?
Sorry, I didn't hear a word you just said. I was watching an ad for Yanni in residence in Las Vegas. Or not Vegas, excuse me, Broadway.
Okay.
He's doing an intimate setting on Broadway. Yanni, Brian. Yanni.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. He's going to interact with the audience and everything, which is crazy. All right, so North Carolina is going to go to the Final Four. Maybe Kentucky, but I don't know. Mostly Carolina. All right, I suppose you want me to pick games. Whatever. Fuck you. Yanni is going to be on residence at Broadway, and North Carolina is going to go out of this bracket. But I suppose if we have to go down to the minutia, Carolina over Iona. I'm going to take Washington over Utah State. Auburn over New Mexico State, although that game looks ripe for picking. Kansas is probably going to beat Northeastern, even though Kansas is everybody's quality win in the Big 12. So why can't they be Northeastern's quality win? Why the hell not? Give a Big 10 team a quality win for once.
Northeastern's not a Big 10 team, Mike. That's Northwestern.
Oh, what's Northeastern then?
They're from a smaller conference. I'm blanking on who it is, though.
Nice job, Brian. You're supposed to be the expert. Should I take Iowa State? No, Ohio State's going to win. Houston over Georgia State. Wofford over Seton Hall. No, you know what? Seton Hall over Wofford. Seton Hall over Wofford. Seton Hall presents Wofford a lot of matchup problems. You know what? No. Well, I'm going to waffle again. Wofford over Seton Hall because Seton Hall is another Pittsburgh. They usually shit the bed in these situations. And Kentucky over the JBLs. Carolina over Washington. I'm going to take Kansas over the 5-12. I'm going to take Houston over Ohio State. I'm going to take Kentucky over Wofford, even though Wofford can beat Kentucky. Look, it's going to boil down to North Carolina and Kentucky, but to get to that point, I'm going to go with Carolina over Auburn. I'm going to have Auburn beat Kansas. I'm going to have Houston. I'm going to have Kentucky over Houston. That brings me to Carolina over Kentucky. Even though Kentucky probably will give Carolina a big game, it's going to be a game of Blue Bloods. Carolina will go to the Final Four, where they will play Tennessee.
All right, so I have a Final Four that features 3 ACC teams and an SEC. I got Duke.
Literally, we have the same Final Four now.
So Duke, Florida State, Tennessee, North Carolina.
Literally, we'll have the same final game too.
Okay, relax. Duke, Florida State. I'm picking Duke because, again, we've seen this game before, and with Zion Williamson, I just don't see it. I think Florida State will have tons of trouble with him. So Duke over Florida State. UNC, even though Tennessee is more incapable of beating North Carolina, I like North Carolina because I just think they have better talent, better players, better talent. Duke UNC as a championship game, which would be a college basketball dream, and Duke beating UNC in a close one because UNC has proven next to Syracuse is probably the only team that can probably handle Duke. 81-76. Mike?
What did I say?
You got the same ones. I am aware.
What did I say?
We got the same Final Four and the same championship game.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Duke, Carolina.
Duke, Carolina with Duke winning.
You know what, though? I'm just going to be a contrarian.
Of course.
I'm going to say Duke's going to win. The only thing I would be contrary about is the final score. I think it's going to be 72-70.
Okay. So we both picked Duke, which is the most popular pick. By the way,
Yep.
Northeastern is from the Colonial Athletic Association.
The Colonial?
Mm-hmm.
With George Washington?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, right now, just a quick score update. Under a minute left. 50 seconds left to be exact. 78-67 Belmont. So everybody that wanted Belmont to be a Cinderella, they are looking like they're on their way to making sure that they stay alive for that chance. So that helps me out. So yeah. Okay, so I'll let you know when that score goes final. So that's our brackets. So we will kind of keep you updated. Again, we'll have other brackets, but this is for our own show purposes. We'll keep you up to date on our brackets, and we'll obviously talk about all the games throughout the tournament, all the big stuff that happens during the tournament, and all that kind of stuff. And we'll make different predictions along the way as the games progress too. But these are our official predictions before the tournament starts. So yeah, there you go. So I think that's the end. That's our bracket predictions and analysis, and now we move on. That's quickest we've ever done it. So one more quick sports story before we get into other business. I said I'd talk about this very quickly, and that's Mike Trout, who made quite the stir today by agreeing to the highest contract in professional sports history, $430 million. He got for 12 years, Mike Trout. Now, look, you probably heard this over the last few weeks. Once Bryce Harper was off the market, all these teams were targeting 2020 when Mike Trout's going to be a free agent. And then there were people that say, hey, wait a minute, maybe the Angels should lock this guy up because a lot of players are afraid to go to the free agent market and get screwed over. Well, they did that. They locked Mike Trout up at $430 million. Now, why is this a good thing? It's a good thing because, and Mike probably would agree with me, that one of the things that you liked about sports, in any sport, is when a guy stays with one team for his career. Because it's there's something about that special. Okay? Why is it a bad thing? It's a bad thing because this is the guy that baseball wants to market as the guy. And they've had a hard time with it, not just because of his personality and quiet nature, but because he's out west and all of his games, for the most part, are at 10:05 at night, where the youth demographic can't appreciate him because they can't watch him unless they're out west. So it's a problem. Okay, so this is for the baseball. This is not good. Now it's also not good for a lot of these teams that were going to try to go to free agency and make a bidding war. It does represent the changing face of baseball because you're going to see this after the last two free agent markets. You're going to see a lot of young stars say, I'm not going to go hit free agency. And if you're a team that has young stars, this is to your benefit. You can lock these guys up and not have to worry about it. The Astros extended Alex Bregman to the 6-year deal. Guy's not going to hit free agency anymore. So if you're a team that relies on free agency, you're pretty much screwed at this point. Until new CBA and things change, because the last two free agent markets have scared the crap out of these guys, whether they're young or old. Now, look, I think what we've seen this year is that the young players, like the Machados, like the Harpers, and now like Mike Trout, will get the money, will get the deals. And the way that they're going to get the deals is the way that you're seeing these guys get them by having more years, because what's happening is teams are finding a way around these big contracts by, okay, instead of I'm going to give you a long contract. It's the John Carlos Stanton contract. By giving you 10, 11, 12 years, the average annual value is a lot cheaper than if I gave you 8 years at that price. It averages things out differently. So it makes it easier for a team to take that on in their budget. So you're going to see that when these teams make these kind of deals because it makes things easier on them. So, yeah, it's a changing face of baseball, and you're going to see probably a lot more young players like Aaron Judge, and they'll probably have this happen. And Aaron Judge is one of those guys like Chris Bryant who went to college, and when they hit free agency, they're going to be hitting it at around 30, 31, 32 years old, which is a detriment. These guys like Trout and Harper and Machado were going to hit it in their 20s. So that gave them a little bit of a leg up. Not so for guys like Chris Bryant and Aaron Judge, but they probably will still get the opportunity to do get re-up before they hit free agency, and they'll probably take it because they'll be too afraid to hit free agency unless something drastic changes in the next CBA, which it could. Now, is this bad for the Angels? One might say, well, wait a minute, the Angels haven't been relevant in a few years. They don't have Mike Scioscia anymore. Albert Pujols is on the downturn of his career. Are they going to be able to afford putting other players around Mike Trout? The answer to that question is yes. They have a rich owner. They're starting to get out from under some of these bad contracts. They have a good farm system. I think the Angels will be on the rise in the next 5 years. You might not see a good team materialize around Trout the next maybe 2 years. But in the next 5 years, I'd say by the conclusion of the next 5 years, I think they'll be a playoff team. So, it's not like Machado going to the Padres, okay? I think that this team is close. They're not all the way there yet, but they're close. So, huge deal. One that sent shockwaves around the sports world and around baseball in general. I'm sure Major League Baseball is not exactly happy about it, but the Players Union is probably ecstatic. But it is what it is. And look, if I'm Major League Baseball, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You just can't. You have Mike Trout. You have Chris Bryant. You have Aaron Judge. You have John Like, you have a lot of stars. Market them all. Because that's the best way to kind of get people invested in the game at this point. You can't go after Mike Trout, put it on Mike Trout, because a West Coast star, it makes it very difficult. So, it is what it is. But huge deal, and kudos to Mike Trout. It's something that we never thought we'd see, but look, the guy has a 10 WAR. Okay, that means 10. He's good for 10 wins a year on his own. That's pretty good. That's more than pretty good. That's special. And then it puts him in classes like Mickey Mantle, among others. So that's crazy good. So he's, look, I don't think anybody's worth that kind of money, but if we're going to justify, he's justified. So, Mike, are you happy for Mike Trout?
Okay. So let's talk about it briefly, because I'm falling asleep just talking about it. Just thinking about it or hearing about it. Criminy. Mike Trout is probably the best player in baseball. And staying loyal to one team. See, you're yawning thinking about it or talking about it. That's how boring this subject is. Criminy. Talking about it with one eye open and the other eye is closing fast.
By the way, real quick before you move, Belmont score just went final 81-70. Belmont moves on to face Maryland. Okay, go ahead.
Great. Okay. Good for Belmont. They'll probably beat Maryland now. Great. All right. Depends what Maryland shows up, but it's probably going to be Belmont. Mike Trout, yeah. So, yeah, he's on the Anaheim Angels. He's going to be with them pretty much for the rest of his career now, and that is an admirable trait. But everybody likes seeing when players stay with one team for the rest of their careers. And you're right, baseball has been trying to market around Mike Trout for ages now. The problem, but yeah, you hit the note on the head. The problem is Mike Trout's in L.A. And the problem is Mike Trout is not that interesting. He is he is probably the best player in baseball, but he's not Aaron Judge, who hits dingers.
Mm-hmm.
He's not Aaron. He's not Mike. He's not Mike Stanton, who hits dingers. He's not Manny Ramirez, who was eccentric and a personality. He's not David Ortiz, who had a personality. He's not he's not Brian Wilson, who had a personality. Hey, does Mike Trout has a personality, Brian?
Just a general nice guy. That's it. So no,
So no.
no.
Look, Aaron Judge is a nice guy, but the dude has fucking charisma.
Agreed.
Mike Trout is the best player in baseball with the least charisma, and that's just look, it happens. Shit happens. Sometimes you don't have the most charisma. That's okay. And I know we're all falling asleep thinking about the subject. Does Mike Trout, based on skill level alone, deserve the $430 million? Absolutely, he does. Is he going to, over the 13 years that he's going to be there in LA for the Angels, is he going to be competing for a World Series? Probably not anytime soon. Probably not anytime soon. He's going to be there for that one team. It's going to be great. They may build a World Series team around him someday. Ain't going to be over the next few years. So he's going to be there. He's going to build his stats up. He's going to be a Hall of Fame level player. That's for sure. But I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'd much rather talk about Aaron Judge.
Wow. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that because obviously it was a big story today. So that's all the sports stuff that we have because we don't have time for anything else. People ask my thoughts on Rory winning the Players. It's good for the PGA. Tiger played well enough to justify relevancy, so it's a good thing. You need more guys. You need Rory, Phil. Phil won Pebble Beach. You got Rory that won a tournament. If Spieth can win something, then and Tiger can win something, you got 4 guys you can kind of roll through the season with. That'll be great for the PGA. Other than that, I don't have much to say about it. So not really anything that has to be pressed upon and talked about right now. So we'll leave the sports world behind because there's nothing else going on there that needs to be talked about right this second. It's all about March Madness, and obviously we'll talk about that over the course of the next few weeks. So let's jump really quickly to the box office and then the wrestling. Box office I'm gonna be very quick with because it's Captain Marvel's world and everybody else is living in it. That's pretty much what the story is. Captain Marvel won the weekend again. Little more less than I thought, but still not bad. 67.9 million, 55% drop up. But the movie's doing extremely well overseas. It's at 509.1, so it's at 779.1 million worldwide through 2 weeks. It is definitely going to hit $1 billion. So Marvel will have another $1 billion movie. So for all the people that thought it wasn't going to do that, guess what? It is, and it's already. I believe it's already about to pass Wonder Woman's entire run as well. So. So yeah, Marvel's done it again. So Captain Marvel doing its thing. Outside of that, the new releases pretty much for many people overperformed. I thought 5 Feet Apart would do better. I just thought the fan base, Cole Sprouse and that would carry it a little bit. It didn't, but I guess people thought it was going to do very badly and it didn't. So maybe I just thought it would do better. I mean, my expectations were different. But by most of everybody else's expectations, it overperformed. So, and same with Wonder Park. Wonder Park pulled in 15.8 million in second, 5 Feet Apart, 13.1 million in third. So, again, I thought 5 Feet Apart could pull in better, but again, most people didn't have that expectation, so they thought it overperformed. So good for them, I guess. Outside of those 3 movies. Captain Marvel, Wonder Park, and 5 Feet Apart. You had How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, drop from second to fourth with a 36.8% drop off, 9.2 million. Tyler Perry's Medea Family Funeral dropped from third to fifth with 7.8 million, a 37% drop off, and everything else was under 5 million, including another new release, Captive State, which pulled in 3.1 million, which I told you probably would be under 5 million, and it was. So all in all, even though Captain Marvel didn't do as well as I thought, and even though I thought 5 Feet Apart could have done better, it ends up being a pretty good weekend at the box office if you total up the top 5 movies. Not great, but pretty good. That's better than what you were getting in January and February, probably. But again, Captain Marvel more than capably holding up the box office and really just taking things into the stratosphere these last 2 weeks. And now you flip the script to a movie that's probably going to...
Real quick, I want to stop you momentarily. So we're going to go back to the Mike Trout thing momentarily. Bleacher Report has an article that if you follow the link on Twitter, it talks about Mike Trout has never won a playoff game. How is he worth $430 million? White privilege strikes again. And if you follow the link, the Bleacher Report article leads to an article about how rugby player Anthony Watts gets an 8-week ban for biting an opponent's penis on the rugby league match. That article about Mike Trout doesn't exist.
That's a swerve.
But the Anthony Watts gets 8-week ban for biting opponent's penis in rugby league match is a real article. That one's totally real. And it's the most interesting thing about the Mike Trout deal. It has nothing to do with the Mike Trout.
It definitely makes things more interesting, that's for sure.
Yes, no, I'm sorry for interrupting. Now, go ahead, talk about Captain Marvel some more.
Well, I'm done with it, but
yes.
Well, we flipped
go
this.
ahead, talk about whatever.
How the heck do I transition out of what you just said? Anyway, we flipped the script from Captain Marvel. Thank you for that, Mike. God, Jesus. How to get my focus back now? We flipped the script from Captain Marvel to the movie that will more than likely unseat Captain Marvel and probably will defy expectations, and that's the only major new release this weekend from Universal, opening in over 3,700 theaters. We have Us, a thriller, again, directed, written, and produced by Jordan Peele, starring Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, and Elizabeth Moss. So look, a little bit of a Black Panther feel here, Mike, with Peter Nyong'o and Winston Duke. So that's going to be a good cast there. R-rated, $20 million budget, which will make it all back in its first weekend. I would expect, especially based on how Get Out did, I think this movie's going to do about 40 to 50 million in its opening weekend at the bare minimum. So this will definitely take first place. It could do better than 40 to 50 million. It's going to take first place. I'm going to go with 45 million just because I like to be in the middle of things like that. But it's going to definitely be, it's going to definitely unseat Captain Marvel. It's got a lot of anticipation, a lot of momentum. Horror thriller. Jordan Peele's got a creative mind. It's been well marketed. And with the success of Get Out, I think that gives him a little bit of a push here. So, yeah, Us will take first place, about 45 million. Maybe, again, I think it could go over. I don't think it'll go under that mark. Captain Marvel should take second. Let's go around 25 to 30 million in its third weekend. And then after that, we'll probably see in third place, I'll go with Wonder Park with around 9 million, 5 Feet Apart around 8. How to Train Your Dragon will probably drop around 5.5, 6. And then Tyler Perry's Medea Funeral probably around 5 million or a little bit under that. That's how it should go this weekend. So it should be a very good weekend at the box office, especially with Us being released and giving the box office another much needed shot in the arm. So it should be a good weekend here at the box office. And then next weekend should be another good weekend because you have another big budget, big film in Dumbo from Disney. That will be opening next weekend with a great cast. And you have Unplanned, a drama that probably won't do a whole lot, but you know, it's another release. So, yeah. So, and then after that, you'll have Shazam and Pet Sematary, and then Hellboy, and so there's a couple of things coming up here in the next few weeks that should help the box office kind of stay up and running here until Avengers Endgame at the end of April. So it should be another solid, should be a little bit of a better weekend at the box office than last weekend, but definitely carrying the momentum of what has been a strong March thanks to Captain Marvel so far. All right. that's all the entertainment stuff we have for tonight because, again, we don't have time. That's just the way it's going to be the rest of the month. We're probably just going to have to stick in the box office beating, and that's pretty much it. We'll return to all the other entertainment stuff come April. But real quick, I would be remiss if I didn't say this, Mike. Do you know what happens at 12:02 a.m.?
Hopefully, I'll be asleep by then. But what?
The Marvel, no, not Marvel. The Disney 20th Century Fox acquisition becomes official.
And hopefully we can get Deadpool in Infinity War.
So for all you out there that have been waiting for this, 12:02 a.m., that will become official. They've been making a big deal of that today, so I thought that was worth noting. But anyway, that's all the entertainment stuff. We got some wrestling to do, so let's do it. This just in, Mike, I'm not sure if you're aware of the 205 Live situation.
No.
Tony Nese defeated Cedric Alexander to earn the right to face Buddy Murphy at WrestleMania.
Tony Nese?
Yes, Tony Nese is facing Buddy Murphy at WrestleMania.
Nese?
Yeah.
Okay. That's new.
Yep. So just thought you'd be interested in that because you were pretty sure it was Cedric Alexander. So was I.
I was very sure it was Cedric Alexander.
Yep. So a little bit of a swerve there. But then again, it's the same company that thinks that we're all gonna find some enjoyment in Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle. So
look, Raw was a dumpster fire.
Raw was a dumpster fire. That did not seem like a WrestleMania Raw at all.
Raw was a giant dumpster fire.
I don't know. I'll just be quick about this. You know, look, I get that they had to sell Ambrose and Reigns. Of course, they had Ambrose in the dark segment, but like not having those guys on the show, and then you have Brock Lesnar start the show, and then you get the stuff at Seth Rollins. I get they had to build up Drew, so I don't have an issue with that. That was probably the only part that felt like WrestleMania. The Ronda stuff was stupid. I'm not sure what they were going with Dana Brooke. The Beth Phoenix, Natalya, Sasha Bailey stuff was all right. But other than that, like it was such that's not a WrestleMania Raw. Like they've had a good couple months here. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that. That felt like a Raw that you'd see in like October. Like total. I mean, even the Batista interview was just so weird. But SmackDown tonight. First of all, we had the return of Rey Mysterio's son Dominic tonight.
Yeah, that was the number one Twitter trend about SmackDown. Which, when we get to SmackDown briefly, that is a major problem when you talk about the content of SmackDown. That the fact that Dominic Mysterio was on it.
Well, let me put it to you this way: this would have been a fairly decent SmackDown, okay, if they didn't do what they did at the end of the show, because they had a good trajectory going. Miz had a good promo. It didn't feature Asuka, but that's neither here nor there.
Not surprising at this point.
They announced Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe at WrestleMania. That's fine. The Gauntlet match was awesome. Okay, until it gets to 9:52, and Kofi wins the match. And I like the fact that it was Orton last. They told his story there. That was good. But he wins the match, and you just knew Vince was going to do something. But I was assuming he was going to be like, "Oh, you'll get your match, but you're going to have a fatal four-way for the title." You know what I'm saying? That's what I thought he was going to do. And then you were going to have Kevin Owens and like Mustafa Ali or whoever else in the match come out, and then we get like a segment where they all attack each other or something. And that's how we end the show. That's what I thought we were going to get. Instead, Vince goes, "Oh no, you got to face Daniel Bryan," and then Kofi loses and takes the air right out of the building. Why can't they? It's the same thing they did with the women, with Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte. Why can't you just leave it alone? He won the gauntlet match. Have him celebrate. If Vince is going to go out there, the only reason he should be going out there is to say, "I'm adding guys to the match, but you're in the match." Having him face another guy when the crowd has already kind of moved on and thought that it was over and done with, and he's having his moment, was the stupidest thing that you could ever do. Total dumb. It negated the whole rest of the show, which wasn't that bad. And again, next week, you know what's going to happen next week. One or two things. Because they made a big point to have guys from the roster standing in the back watching the match, right? So either what's going to happen is those guys next week are going to come out and say to Vince, we're not working WrestleMania unless Kofi gets his match. Or Kofi's going to pull a Daniel Bryan and have people occupy the ring. Or there's going to be another challenge and he's going to win it. And then we're going to be right back to square one again. Again, we're 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. Let it breathe. Enough with this. Announce these matches. Get everything on the card. Do some last-minute build-up, and let's move on. Like, when is enough heat enough heat? Like, you already have Kofi over to the point where crowds are hijacking shows. How much more over do you want him to be? Terrible. Terrible way to end the show.
Well, it's not even to the point. It's getting to the point where apparently I was reading things where apparently Kofi was not getting a great reaction by the end of that match.
He got a good reaction when it was Orton, and then as soon as and when he won, but as soon as Daniel Bryan comes out, it's like the crowd already knew it was going to happen.
So you're killing it anyway.
You're killing it. Exactly.
You're killing the town.
Same thing they did with Becky. If you think about it.
You're killing the town right now. It's not difficult to do the right thing here. You want to make it a fatal 4-way because Owens is on the show briefly.
Uh-huh.
In the Kevin Owens show segment apparently, and Mustafa Ali wasn't on the show at all. You want to make the fatal 4-way match? Make the fatal 4-way match. But you've got literally nothing going on. You've got how many matches already announced for Mania? Like 4? You've got all these reports that it's like going to be like a 17 match card and it's going to be 8 hours and it's going to be all blah blah blah. But we're how many fucking days away? We're how many weeks out from it? And how many matches do we have? I'm actually pulling up the card now. We have 9 matches for WrestleMania. We have Lesnar versus Rollins. We have the Raw Women's match. Raw Women's Titles match. We have Nice versus Murphy. We have H's versus Batista. We have Angle versus Corbin. McMahon versus Miz. AJ versus Randy. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which was announced apparently, and Joe versus Mysterio, and that's fucking it.
Mike, we have some breaking news
Okay.
related to Asuka.
Oh.
WWE has announced Carmella versus Naomi versus Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville in a fatal 4-way for next Tuesday's SmackDown. The winner will face Asuka at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Women's title. The match was announced in a post-SmackDown video in which Rose and Deville continued to tease tension between them.
Oh. Okay.
So there you go.
Literally, I didn't even see that.
It just came out. It's really just posted. So yeah. So it looks like either Deville and Rose are going to screw each other, or one of them is going to screw the other. Because I don't think they're going to have Carmella face Asuka, and I don't think they're going to have Naomi face. I mean, Naomi probably the best opponent she could have.
That's not saying that much.
And I have this distinct feeling she's going to be on the pre-show.
Probably.
Because this match has this. All it does is read as just stick somebody in there and have Asuka win.
It's probably going to be Naomi at this point.
Yep. Rose and Deville will get in each other's way, and Carmella probably eats the pin. And there's your match.
Yeah.
And then Rose and Deville will be in the Women's Battle Royal, and there will be a focal point of that.
Yeah.
Oops, did I just spoil it all? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Asuka will get her match at WrestleMania, and Daniel Bryan will get a match at WrestleMania. So you have 11 matches. You have Daniel Bryan versus to be announced, and you have Asuka versus to be announced. That's 11 matches.
And there's supposed to be more.
Yeah, and John Cena doesn't have a match, and then Undertaker may have a match. He may not have a match. The Raw tag titles haven't been announced yet. The Intercontinental title hasn't been announced yet. The only reason why we know the Andre the Giant's happening is because Braun Strowman was announced for it, because we don't have anything else for that guy to do.
And he's probably going to win.
Yeah, he's probably going to win because we don't have anything else for Braun to do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where we are. That is literally where we are.
They're going to do some kind of angle with Rey and Dominic at Mania, aren't they?
Probably, yes.
Because they made it a point to say he's going to be at ringside.
Yes, he is.
Okay. That's okay.
I would literally have them do nothing with Rey and Dominic, except have Joe win, because Joe is amazing and doing great work right now.
Oh, boy. And we're going to this show, and it's going to be like an 8-hour show.
Yep.
Holy crap.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at I'm looking at something here where it says there's going to be 19 matches.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be 19 matches. And, well...
2 weeks.
2 weeks. It's like 3 weeks.
Well, I mean, the next time by the time they get to TV next Monday, it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They got 2 weeks to announce. We're looking at 8 matches, 8 or 9 more matches at least.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I have a theory though, and I was thinking about this, and I'll share it now because a couple other people actually talked to me about it off the air. They made Alexa Bliss is hosting Mania, and they've been teasing that Nikki Cross is going to try to attack her at WrestleMania.
Okay.
Now they've had Elias, and they've been making a big point out since last year's WrestleMania. Remember how he got interrupted last year at WrestleMania? And he's been interrupted all the time ever since. How he keeps getting interrupted. And now he's the musical performance at WrestleMania. And he's been pushing the idea that he keeps getting interrupted. A lot of people think that what they're going to do is similar to what they did with Undertaker and Cena last year, where Undertaker didn't show up till WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They think Undertaker is going to show up at WrestleMania, interrupt Elias, and just do a quick match. Because he's not capable of working full matches anymore.
Yeah, it might be happening.
And I thought that made a lot of sense because they might not have time for anything else. It's just like, okay, he's here, and it'd be a moment for people to remember.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do the same thing. They did that with Cena last year. Cena took Elias out last year, so it'd be kind of repetitive. But I could see Undertaker doing it.
It'd be a good moment for Elias and Undertaker.
I just keep thinking that, when he was doing this thing with Alexa Bliss last night on Raw, that's the thing I kept thinking about was he's pushing the interruption thing, and that it just kept making me think, well, what would be a better interruption than the lights going out and hearing the gong? That would be the premium interruption. So that my mind just kept going there. They're making a big point of how Nikki Cross is pretty much going to knock out Alexa Bliss at some point. So I guess, yeah. So I guess that that made me think that they're doing something with Elias too. So, but just a theory. A lot of people have been asking me about that. I think it's a pretty good one, based on the fact that if they're going to have Undertaker show up before Mania, they would have already done it already. So, all right. So yeah, Mike's right. Raw was a dumpster fire. I really don't understand. And by the way, for those that are wondering, the Angle Corbin thing, they knew what the reaction to that was going to be, and they still stuck with. Apparently, Angle wanted a different opponent. Why wouldn't you let him pick his opponent?
I don't know.
The guy's earned that right. Why would you just kind of I get it. You wanted to do this Baron Corbin Kurt Angle match for months now, but is that? I mean, oh my God! Baron Corbin should be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale as a foil to Braun Strowman. where he should be. But that's probably going to be a very quick match too. So maybe that's their thinking. Just because Kurt can't really work a full match anymore either. If you watched his match with Gable last night, he couldn't do it. He just couldn't. But oh well. At this point, let's just get to WrestleMania. Let's get this over with. At this point, it's we've had this build up going for 2 months now. So yeah, we'll see how things go in the next week. I would figure, and boy, I can't believe that they gave such a crap fest of a Raw to Chicago of all places. It's like they deliberately want to piss off Chicago.
Yeah, well, they gave him CM Punk chant return, so there's that.
They knew that was coming. They're not stupid. Apparently they knew that people were going to crap all over the Kurt Angle match, and they still did it. So, anyway, we'll keep an eye out on things over the next week. Obviously, next week maybe we'll have some more matches to announce. But definitely next time we have a show, know what Asuka's match will be finally. So we know that much. We'll obviously have some college basketball to talk about next week, and any other big sports stuff we have to cover, we will cover. We'll do some box office beat very briefly, and then anything else from entertainment, if it has to be covered, we will cover, and then obviously wrestling stuff we will cover as well. So, like I said, what you see is what you get with the show right now, because that's what we do in March. So a lot of college basketball and everything else whatever we have time for, we get to. So it's a way of the land here for the next couple weeks, so just be aware of that. With that being said, it is almost midnight, so we want to make sure we shut things down. Plus, I'm losing my voice, and again, I don't feel good, so I don't know how I powered through, but I did. So I did. So congratulations to me. I said so I did twice. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm completely out of it. All right, so the show is over. Does that mean you have to stop interacting or contributing to our show? Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, topic ideas, and breaking news on various sports, entertainment, and wrestling that you want us to cover. Questions about the show and scheduling the show, topic ideas, anything you want to submit to the show, reactions, comments, opinions, and things we talked about, anything you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding the show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it or once you find it. Again, follow us on social media so you can get the latest information about the show and scheduling and all that important fun stuff, interacting with us. And so you can do all that and more. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Very, very important. If you'd like to keep up with the show, you have 2 ways for us to do it. You can either stream us anytime on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search for In the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show page on YouTube where you can stream us anytime. Any of the episodes we've ever produced for YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015, all of tonight's current episode. Stuff's available for you to stream anytime you want for your convenience. Just head over to YouTube and search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming is not your thing, maybe prefer to listen to us or listen to us on the go, or insert older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411, and when you do, be taken to our show pages on both sites. We have access to every episode we've ever produced in the over 8 years we've been doing the show. So every episode from our original Blog Talk Radio run, every episode from our talk show, and every episode from our current YouTube run. Every episode we've ever done, all our YouTube episodes transferred to audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done is an audio format for you to listen to anytime you want. All episodes in order from the most recent, that being tonight's, way back to the oldest, way back in October 2010. Those episodes are available for you to listen to anytime. Again, whether you miss an episode entirely, you want to, maybe you're a long-time fan, wants to look back at old episodes, or a new fan wants to look back at old episodes, see what we used to do, or keep up with current episodes. If any of that applies to you, you can check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean and iTunes, and Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep with the show and look back at classic episodes. To search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, to search for In the Spotlight 411. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Time for bed.
Thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on the back. And thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. Those who will be watching, listening to this later in archive, thank you to you as well. Thank you for your patience tonight, again, with the late start. And thank you for understanding with me powering through this. I was not at my best. I did the best I could. But, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully, again, you know, when you only do one show, you just got to kind of power through it. So that's what I did. So that's it for this week. Our next show will be 1 week from tonight on March the 27th. Broadcasting and streaming live here on YouTube at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Again, we'll talk college basketball the first weekend of the tournament. Look ahead to the second weekend, any other sports stuff we have to cover. We'll do wrestling, we'll do our box office beat, all that and more 1 week from tonight for our next show. Again, no show this Thursday. Next show a week from tonight at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So please note that. I hope you have a great rest of your night. A great rest of your week. Enjoy the basketball and a great weekend, a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here 1 week from tonight on March 27th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time here on YouTube. Until then, good night, everybody.